Welcome to Keep It Humane, the podcast, where we dive deep into topics surrounding kindness, compassion, and creating a more humane world, whether it's in our communities, in the workplace, or in the world of animal control and shelters. With our hosts,
Ashley Bishop.
And Ashley Bishop.
And I'm Daniel Ettinger. This show is sponsored by Tomahawk Live Trap. Check them out, livetrap.com. Well, it's just me and Texas Bishop today. How's it going?
It's going, man. The weather over here in Texas is gnarly.
Gnarly. Like when you say gnarly, it's not 95 degrees and 100% humidity.
It's like 70 in the afternoons and then 28 in the mornings. So,
It's consistent here, but really quick. Southern California, as probably everybody knows, is just insane right now with this fire. I don't know what the definition of wildfire is, and I'm not gonna. This isn't a podcast about conspiracy theories. I'm just saying a little, some stuff that's going on over there. It's a little weird. So shout out to everybody working that stuff right now, all the families that have been displaced. That's some scary stuff. I've had some experiences with fires, and I don't want to have to work any natural disaster, but I think fires might be the least of the top that I would want to work because they're just so unpredictable, and it's different. It's absolutely different. So
I agree. Our hearts are with everybody. I know a lot of our local firefighters here in Texas are headed that way this week. So hopefully everybody stays safe. All animal control officers and agencies out there who are taking in pets, keep up the good fight.
absolutely. And check us out on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Everything's going to be under Keep It Humane. We got rid of the Animal Control Report podcast stuff. And if you missed our episode last week, we kind of go through the why. So you might want to tune in to that to understand why we decided to change the name. So everything is Keep It Humane. Find that on all the socials. And please follow, like, share, rate the podcast. This is going to be a good one today. We invited a friend of ours and another podcast host, the dude, Kevin Hearst.
Yo,
he's in the
yo,
building.
yo.
Check him out.
In the building.
You can check him out
Son.
a couple
Right?
places. He has humane law in service training, and then you can check his websites, kdhurst.com or humanelaw.com. Check that stuff out for more info. Book him for some of your trainings if you're in need, man. He'll come through and put down some really good top-notch training. And one of the reasons we invited him on this show, because we're going to get into some dogfighting stuff here, and I know Kevin's helped me out on some training documents and information about dogfighting, so you were a good resource to tap, and I appreciate that.
10-4.
And before we just jump in, we got to thank our show sponsor. That's Tomahawk Live Trap. They're celebrating their 100th year in business here in 2025. They're a family-owned and operated business who work with humane professionals around the world to produce the safest and most effective animal handling equipment available. You can save 10% on their products by using discount code Keep It Humane. That's Keep It Humane in all caps. Check them out right there at livetrap.com or call 1-800-272-8727. Bishop, I know you've had a busy week. How's life?
Life's good. Yes, it was a super busy week. We ended up doing kind of a not last minute seizure of 11 dogs. Dealing with that and the space crisis that we're already dealing with. So that's been fun. Plus all the wonderful things going on at home. As you can hear my dogs in the background. Sorry. But no, it's just making sure that all of our animals and things like that are good because Texas is experiencing some crazy weather right now. For us, as you know, Texans don't survive in snow or ice or anything like that. So, just dealing with all of that. How are you over in Cali?
You know, I'm grateful. I'm blessed. I mean that. Like being able to go to the beach yesterday in the morning when it was gorgeous out. And, people always talk about California the way that they do. And I understand, like, whatever. It's expensive, the laws or whatever. I mean, I get it. But at the end of the day, you pay to play. Uh, I couldn't think of a better environment to wake up, go to the beach, throw the ball to the dog, and man, I love it. I love it. I guess I could live on the East Coast too, like South Carolina. I get does Georgia, Kevin, does Georgia have coastline?
Yeah, that's gonna be
Mm-hmm.
Savannah on Grand
Savannah.
and all that stuff.
Very little.
But I would know that's Atlantic Ocean. I would not dare put my foot in the Atlantic Ocean. Sorry.
What's going on in the Atlantic, man? I don't know.
Trash. 100% trash. Disposable units, know what I mean? Trash.
How are things with you, man? We know you're a busy guy. I saw you about what, 2.5, 3 months ago. How was life, man?
Life's good. Gotta see the grandkids and my son today. I gotta buy dinner or lunch. I don't know what I'm buying. Because I'm Paw, Grandpa, I'm some shit. I don't know what I am. And so I have to do that grandpa shit. And then other than that, I'm just doing me, man. Life is good, just doing me. I got a good job, got a good boss. Most of my coworkers have no problems. Want to throw a punch, one or two of them, but other than that, I'm good.
This guy. Any trainings coming up? You doing some stuff?
I will be in. Let me see. We'll be me and Dustin will be in FACA at FAPA down in Orlando. And then I think we have something coming up in more. I have Toledo on the schedule and somebody else. I'm waiting for Casey to hit me back. And then later on this year, Colorado, a man hit me up the other day. And then I don't know, sometime in May or June, I have Texas Unites. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's in between. I do the in-service with the police and stuff like that, sheriff department, marshal unit. So, we're working. I said, you know how it is.
I do. And a fun fact, I actually lived in Toledo in the 90s.
Why?
Yeah, yeah, that's a long story. We don't need to get into that, but shout out when you get out there. Let me know. Maybe some of the people I grew up with for a year are in your class. That would be ironic if
Don't
somebody
get me
out.
wrong, Toledo is a fun town. Once you fly in, I forgot where I'm flying in, and you drive
Detroit,
like an
usually
hour.
Detroit. Yeah,
Is it Detroit? Yeah, I
yeah.
fly out and everything. It's cool. The downtown area, they're doing everything over, have no problems. Um, you know, the major. I mean, there's no healthy eating bars. There's no healthy eating in Toledo. So Popeyes will be my blood pressure medicine.
My goodness. Well, I want to jump into this case. So, for people that don't know, here's the thing. Dogfighting in this country, outside of animal control officers' purview or law enforcement's purview, didn't really become like notarized. That's not the word. What's the word? I see. This is why I wish Wisconsin Bishop was here because she would just be on me right now for not knowing words. But it wasn't like when dogfighting happened, like people didn't think about it until Michael Vick, right? Like that's what made dogfighting in America like more recognizable and understood. And then it kind of got quiet. There's been some dogfighting here and there, local animal control agencies, et cetera, et cetera. But some people may or may not know about this case out of basically DC, Maryland, really. And I'm going to read really quick there's an article that was put out by the United States Attorney's Office for DC or District of Maryland, I should say. And in this release, they're talking about an employee from, or a former at this point, a former employee from the Pentagon. And that's right, the Pentagon. So Fredrick Douglas Moorefield Jr., 62 years old, was the Pentagon's Deputy Chief Information Officer for Command Control and Communications. Moorefield, so if you think about this, that's his title, right? Moorefield was the Pentagon's Deputy Chief Information Officer for the Command Control. I just want that to sink in for a minute. So they have investigated this dude who worked for the Pentagon in a high level role. What are your thoughts when you first hear that?
I wasn't expecting going into this at all. And then as soon as I read Department of Defense employee, I was like, yikes. I mean, the thing about our industry is that you just never know, you never know who's doing what or when or where. It's insane. It's insane that you can take on a role like that in your daily life and then do something as disgusting as this behind closed doors.
Well, I lived in DC proper. I worked in Maryland. I know Anne Arundel County is kind of rural after you get the city parts. DC has a lot of money, aka DMV has a lot of money. A lot of money. A lot of local contracts. Pentagon is the biggest, I guess, building in America. Not to build more for you North Carolina people. It's one of the things where a lot of things going on shady in DC. I lived there. I lived there for almost 4 years. And the politicians, I'm not gonna say everybody's corrupt, but once you get your status and your clearance, you got your clearance. So you go back home, you can do any shit you want to do.
Have you
Bars.
have you ever did you ever work with Dave Hunt?
Still in there?
Dave Hunt before he passed away? He was
Oh,
up in Ohio.
dog.
Yeah, my man, right?
Listen, man. We talking Dave, good people. I wish I would have had him on a podcast before we left. Dave, good people. He came down when he was working at HSUS. He hit me up. We talking about years ago, bro. And then full circle, I came back. I hollered at him. We was talking stuff like that. Good person, man. Good person. Good investigator. Just a great guy. Salt of the earth type of guy. Dave Hunt, shout out.
We had him on several years ago. You could go back in the archives and check that out. He great guy. I met him a few times at trainings, and you talk to him about anything. Uh, but he was, I mean, he was that guy was kind of a dogfighting guru, to be honest. Like he was in that stuff. But one thing he said, and I want people to keep this in mind, especially for our ACOs listening. He said this, and I'll never forget this. And I can't recall if he said this in a training or if he said it on our episode many years ago. He said, he used to be a homicide detective before he got
Yep.
into the dogfighting.
Mhm.
And he would teach at the sheriff's offices and associations around the country, police, law enforcement, etc. And all the times these people, like the cops and such, would push back and say, "How can you prove dogfighting if you don't catch them in the act of dogfighting?" And Dave Hunt would say, he was like, "I was a homicide detective for 21 years and had several convictions, and not one of those convictions did I catch that person committing the crime." He said it's all about the evidence, and we'll look at some of that evidence when we read this case report by the FBI. It's pretty cool. Another thing we have to think about too, we have to break it down for the newbies, is we have three styles of dogfighting. We have our street fighters, our hobbyists, and our professionals. In this case, for Moorefield, as we look into it, when you start to see the money exchange, you would think because he's like part of the Pentagon and has all that connections and money, he would be a professional dogfighter. But the money, when we look at it, it's not that big. They're not gambling a lot of money, which you would think that would bring them to that upper tier. So I'm gonna jump into this case again here from the uh, the District of Maryland, United States Attorney's Office. So this is from December 13th of 2024. U.S. District Judge Richard D. Benton sentenced Fredrick Douglas Moorefield Jr., age 64 at the time, of Arnold, Maryland, to 18 months in federal prison, 6 months of home detention, and a $20,000 fine, followed by 3 years of supervised release for his involvement in multi-state dogfighting conspiracy. In addition to the fine, Judge Bennett ordered Moorefield to pay a forfeiture money of $21,576. Eric L. Barron, U.S. Attorney for the District of Maryland, announced the sentencing with Acting Special Agent in Charge David Geist of the FBI. According to a guilty plea, federal agents began investigating Moorefield's connection to dogfighting after officers from Anne Arundel County Animal Control responded to a report of two dead dogs found in a plastic bag in Annapolis, Maryland, in November of 18. Investigators found mail addressed to Moorefield inside the bag, and a necropsy determined that the dogs bore wounds and scarring patterns consistent with dogfighting. My goodness, you're going to. I actually have a case that we'll cover at some point, probably this year, where something similar happened. But you're going to throw away dogs and have something with your name on it. How dumb can you get?
I know. As soon as I read that too, I was like lazy. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you're not trying to hide it enough.
Well, the thing is, you don't think you're going to be caught. So it's no different than I don't. There is a huge comparison to Mike Vick.
Hmm.
Huge. I was not involved in the Mike Vick case. I know it intimately because of the parties that be that I know. Mike Vick was a hobbyist who had a professional setup.
Mm,
It sounds like this guy was maybe a little bit more than a hobbyist because he did, and he should get a RICO charge if you go across state lines. But I looked at everything. But again, he was going to be charged as a professional. But even with this judgment, that's slap on the wrist. 18 months, 6 months.
yeah,
He's not going to jail. He has to pay back. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
And he's probably going to keep his pension. Real talk.
Can you talk really quick about the when we talk about wounds that are consistent with dogfighting? So that's what when they did the necropsy, they were like, "Oh, wait a second, we got some old wounds, scar." Like, break that down.
So when I teach for level 3 LETI plug, I usually express it's a sweater effect. Okay. Outside the face, it will be frontal on the head, in the face, not so much behind the head, not on the shoulders, not on the neck, not on the back, frontal wounds, lacerations, and cuts and bites, stuff like that. And then you go down the chest, and then you go down the front legs. The back legs, sometimes, once in a while, to get in the back position. But the dogs will engage in a wrestling match. Okay, a wrestling match where you have one dog getting on top of the other, wrestling for position and biting and like that because they're trying to rip the dog apart. Okay, these are nefarious people around stuff like that, cheering on all these dogs like that. And they have remember in a dog fight, in a real dog fight, not a bump and roll. In a real dog fight, you have a sanctioned fight where you have purse for money and you get a disclosed location where you weigh the animals. They come in and they're going to be a certain weight, under the weight or at the weight, not over the weight. It's very, very conducive of prize fighting, aka boxing. And then you come in, you bring them after a milk wash to make sure there's no agents on them, make sure they get inebriated, stuff like that, intoxicated while they're fighting, because you want a fair fight. I know you're fighting dogs to my fear. And then you go into the dogs. Dogs have certain fighting styles. Some of underbelly, some of come up. It depends on what type you get. And these dogs will inflict all types of wounds. And it's not that they do not feel pain; they're taught to ignore the pain.
And I mean, it's so deep is in regards to how this stuff is out there in the world and how I mean it's happening in all of our cities, uh, and right under our noses, and it's something that truly it's not actively sought out after in most cases. You do have a few individuals or agencies that try to do some undercover work and such. When we get into this FBI report, it talks about Telegram. Telegram is a messaging service
Yep.
similar to WhatsApp. The
Yep.
only difference really with Telegram is it's
Video.
unique to the
You can
fact
see
that
video, big time video on it. Big
well,
time video.
you can't subpoena the records. That's the thing is they move their servers out of they're not the servers aren't in this country, and so from what I've been told, law enforcement that has tried to send subpoenas to them, they just get ignored because you can't find them. They're all around the world, and then the only way to really find them is either get access to someone's computer or phone that hasn't deleted the archives, or truly set up your own account and become part of that. So we'll talk about that here in a second. I'm going to jump into this FBI report, which is pretty interesting when you look at it. Interesting in all facets too, because when you think about the FBI, you think of this high level investigative unit. This report is great. But it's no different than any of our animal control reports at the end of the day. The only reason FBI got involved is because it did pass state lines, and this guy worked for the Pentagon as well. So they wanted to make sure this was a high level investigation, including the FBI obviously would be part of that because of the scenarios of you know, the, the things crossing state lines, all the dog fights, and then messages, videos, money, etc. So the affidavit in support of the criminal complaint search warrant. I, Ryan C. Daly, special agent of the Federal Bureau of Investigation, being duly sworn, depose and state that this affidavit is made in support of criminal complaint and arrest warrants for Fredrick Douglas Moorefield Jr. and Mario Damon Flythe residing in Magnolia Road, Glen Burnie, Maryland. Basically, for all these different things that I didn't even know existed really until today or after I started researching it. For violations of Title 7 United States Code 2156B and Title 18 of the United States Code Section 49A, buying, selling, delivering, possessing, training, or transporting animals for participation in animal fighting venture, Title 7 United States Code Section 2156C and Title 18 United States Code Section 49A, use of postal service and other interstate instrumentally for promoting and furthering animal fighting venture, Title 18 United States Code 371, conspiracy to sponsor or exhibit an animal fighting venture, and Title 18 United States Code 1952, interstate and foreign travel, transportation, and aid of racketeering enterprises, collectively the target offenses. Whew, that's a lot. And
Yeah, break it down.
yeah.
Title 7 is going to be for dogfighting and paraphernalia, stuff like that. Title 18 is going to be for conspiracy. That's it. Those are a big difference.
And didn't Vic get charged with that racketeering? Or yeah, he was
Conspiracy.
conspiracy. Okay.
He was never charged for dogfighting.
All right. See, people, the more you know. All right, agent background. This is his hero statement. Special agent with the FBI and have been since the 2015. Currently assigned to investigate matters involving healthcare fraud and environmental offenses. As a result of my training and experience, I'm familiar with the tactics and methods used by individuals who engage in environmental crimes such as dogfighting. It'd be really interesting to know where he got that skill from. What kind of classes did he go through? The same classes we go through? Was it HSUS? Was it another organization? Was it local to Maryland? It'd be kind of cool to know.
I'm curious, Kevin, what is the term environmental crimes? What does that consist of? I've never heard that
Um,
before.
shit, I don't know. My ass is regular. Okay, that sounds extra, right? I think that no, seriously, Ashley, I think they group a lot of things with nefarious things that they have going on that can be a prelude to get them into doing other things. So, I'm like, what? What does that mean? I understand 5-7, and I understand five. I'm sorry, 5-7, Title 7, and I understand Title 18. It says everything is spoken out. I was like, I read it. I had to read it again because in different parts of the United States, it's going to be the same thing if you're going to federal. Most time we go state.
Hmm.
First of all, we go county. Sorry, we go city, state. It was a city, county, state, and then we go federal. Unless we have a federal case where it was moving dogs around. Now the DMV boys, they was moving. Remember, DC is not a state. Okay, so
Yeah.
Maryland's a state and Virginia's a state, but DC is not a state, right? So it's a thing, right? And what gets me is how these I just can't believe a 62, 63-year-old would still stay in the game when you have a federal job and Pentagon clearance. You would stay in the
Exactly.
game.
Oh,
1-800, 1-800 dumbass. You feel me?
yeah, hey, they never said criminals are smart. Let me get into this probable cause. So Moorefield is a 62-year-old Department of Defense employee and dogfighter. According to his Department of Defense biography page, Moorefield is the Deputy Chief Information Officer for Command Control and Communications, C3. Office of Secretary of Defense Chief Information Officer as DCIO. Moorefield provides technical expertise, oversight, and broad guidance on policy, programmatic, and technical issues relating to C3 to integrate and synchronize defense-wide communication programs. He also advises on efforts to achieve and maintain information dominance for the Department of Defense. He manages efforts defining Department of Defense policies and strategies for design, architectural, Ashley, what's this word again?
Interoperability.
Standards, capability development, and sustainment of critical command and control and communications for non-nuclear strategic strike, integrated missile defense, defense of national leadership, command capabilities, and spectrum.
This is
What the
insane. This is
fuck is
insane.
going on here? Oh my God.
Pause. He's a serious information officer exuberant PIO. That's about it. That nuclear shit, that sounds saucy. All right. He know you don't have nothing to do with that button. You don't have nothing to do with that. This is somebody who got passed up, who went up the chain and getting paid probably 150, $160,000 a year. And again, who probably will keep their fucking pension.
Nah, they ain't keeping their pension. I don't think so. Well,
Bro,
let's find
I'm
out. Man,
mm, mm,
you might be right.
mm, mm.
Well, the
Whew.
thing is, you look at this, and like Kevin said
He's not doing
earlier,
any time, Ashley. He's not
yeah,
doing
Yeah,
any
yeah,
no,
time.
I
that's
thought he.
crazy.
Wait,
And to
wait,
be anybody else off the
wait,
streets,
wait,
I
wait.
mean, it's only 18
He's
months.
doing 18 months. Yeah, he's doing time.
Oh, pause. Skirt. Mike Vick was offered a proffer after 22 months. He did 18 months. He was offered a proffer. A proffer is a deal between the federal government talking to you and say, hey, can you turn states evidence? Michael Vick said, nah, bruh, I'm down with my homies. I'm G, you knit, okay? He said, no. He said, no, I'm good. And he stayed his course with good, with a recommendation for Tony Dungy. And after like that, he did his time and didn't dap, rat, or squeal or snitch on anybody, on anybody. Mike Vick, and people hate this. When I do my Vicology, I have a little course I do with Vicology. Mike Vick is a two-time winner. He got his job back, and he never snitched. He's a two-time winner. He can go in the hood and say, "Yeah." No. He can say, "Yeah, I'm G all day. I didn't snitch. I did my time. I came out." And right now, Mike Vick is going to be a head
A
football
coach
coach.
for college. Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? This guy right here, if you read back what he pled guilty to, which was a plea deal, okay? He is not going to do any time. He's going to be a probation. This is a homie hookup because of his position. Real talk.
So he'll probably do like 6 months served, and then they'll let him out.
And,
Hmm.
bruh,
Well, there's
bruh,
more. So Flythe, I think Flythe is a 49-year-old barber, according to Flythe's Maryland of Department of Motor Vehicles license. He resides at the Magnolia premises, which is approximately 10 miles from Moorfield's residence in Arnold, Maryland. He was present at the Magnolia premises when agents executed a search warrant on September 6, 23. You have
okay,
this.
so this is what happens. Say you have a dogman, right? A
Yeah.
dogman. Dogman
Well,
could be
what
a
really, yeah, real quick, let's let the people know if they're not into a dogfight. And so the dogman is the guy that's going to be in the pit with everything. Like, let them know.
okay. So you have a person who's going to be a dog man and handle the dog. They're going to train the dog, they're going to facilitate the dog, and they'll probably be the handler inside the ring. Okay. Then you have the owner of the dog who's not going to have any association with the dogs at all. He's owns the dog. He don't give a fuck. So the dog man will curate the dogs, train the dogs, condition the dogs, and when they go in to keep, oh, sorry. He also will be have somebody who will cull the dogs out, and if they're not performing everything, kill the dogs. Okay, because you go inside the in this dossier, you go in there and he has cable units, stuff like that. These are going to be for killing the dogs quietly when you're shocking them to death, plug them or drown them, or shoot them with 22 snub nose, stuff like that with suppressor. And because remember, Anne Arundel is a rich area. Y'all don't understand. So it's very rich county in Maryland, affluent people, what have you. And when you have dogs like this, and those are some serious cages I saw. Those are different. Those are some serious cages where they cannot eat out and get to the next dog. So even if because what you want to do on the dog yard, you want to have dogs separate.
Mhm.
Males on one side, females on one other side. They don't even see each other. Okay. You have them out there and they can smell each other, but they can't see each other. And the thing is, you have G day, G check day to make sure the dog's going to perform. If the dog doesn't look like he wants to fight another dog, he's called out and killed right then and there. There's no reason to keep a dog on the yard unless it's going to perform. These are not pets. These are athletes, and they go in there and they perform. These people do not love the dog. They love what the dog can do for them. It's simple as that. Yes, it's egregious, it's horrible, it's all this like that. But you have to understand, this is nothing. These dogs are nothing to them. Now, the thing is, what they're trying to get is what? A
Money.
champion.
Money
No.
and
Pause.
status.
But before status, before money, they're trying to get a champion. if they get a champion, if they win 3 fights, yo, because now you have something you can what? You don't have to fight again. You don't have to fight this dog never again if it wins what? 3 fights.
Mm.
Male, female. Okay. The one thing I liked that you put on your when you gave me the dossier and I looked at everything, there's no what color didn't you see? You saw a whole bunch of colors, but what color didn't you see? Blue. You did not see a blue or gray dog in those
Oh, you're
videos.
talking about the dogs.
Right. So the thing is like this: these competitors and stuff like that, all they want to do is fight their dogs and see who's the best. That's going to be street level.
Mm.
Hobbyist gets into it, aka Mike Vick, dumbass. And I'm not a Mike Vick fan. And then you get to this dumbass here. He has all the money and he's facilitating all this. Mike Vick,
Mm-hmm.
you facilitate on your property, and then we talking. I'm not gonna call him out on your show, but you had people who dug up 33 dead dogs on his property. Bruh, you don't kill Fluffy and leave him on your property. You don't kill the evidence and leave him on your property. Just like you said, he left his name and address in the bags with the dog. Who does that? When you think nobody's going to reach you, stuff like that, the animal, it's ridiculous because you get, would you say, Ashley, lazy?
Mm-hmm.
Lazy. You know what I'm saying? And I look at these people like this. I don't understand dogfighting because is it lucrative? It can be. Cockfighting, can it be? Yes. But I'm like, bruh, the amount of risk you risk for the attention you're about to give, and you give up a government job with clearance. That's something else.
I want to get back into reading this document from the FBI just because there's so much, and we'll keep going through it and pausing. So, pursuant to the guilty pleas, and they're going to name some names, we're going to just skip that. A bunch admitted that they use a secure messaging app known as Telegram to create and use private groups that they generally refer to as the DMV board, where they and their associates could discuss training, fighting dogs, exchanging videos about dogfighting, and arrange and coordinate dogfights and associated wagers, all the way from the view of law, or out of the way, I guess I should say, from the view of law enforcement. As I talked about Telegram before, Telegram is something, unless you're getting live access to it, you're not going to get the info. Each admitted that they and other members of the DMV board also use Telegram apps to compare methods of killing the dogs that lost fights, as well as circulate media reports about dogfighters who have been caught by law enforcement and discuss methods on how to conceal their own conduct from law enforcement. So that's just one piece of it's a conspiracy to work together as a unit to figure out ways to undermine law enforcement, people coming for you. The next session talks about that the DMV board contained as many as 28 members at one time. And then it goes into Moorefield is associated with conspiracy to engage in animal fighting ventures, is linked to members in the DMV board, and his kennel name is Geehad. That's correct, Geehad. I found that while using Telegram app, Moorefield and others use Geehad to refer to himself. And then it goes into more information about stage fights against different kennel names. So there's a bunch of those in this report. And anyone listening that wants access to this report, just shoot us an email, podcast@keepithumane.com. Again, podcast@keepithumane.com. We can forward this along. So now this FBI agent starts monitoring and getting into it in the aspects of a good investigation. And animal control units, I don't know how many have that ability to really set up a sting operation, surveillance, and get into that. I know in the cockfighting cases I've worked, it would have absolutely helped me if I did it that way. We just didn't have the staff in order to do that. There are some ways to do it with like the ASPCA. I'm not sure if HSUS will help out in that aspect, but I'm pretty sure the ASPCA will when you're doing those investigations. And so the FBI getting involved in this one, now you have the resources much, much greater than we do as animal control officers. So there was basically they get what's the word I'm looking for? Not a snitch, but it's a snitch. What's the word they use in law enforcement?
TI.
Informant.
Yeah, an informant that goes in and starts talking about all the things that are happening in that aspect. And I think it's important that you understand that if someone's given a deal and not having to do time. Now you talked about it a little bit ago, Kevin, where Michael Vick was like, "I'm not about that life," and some people won't. They won't snitch, but some people will when they find out how big of a case this is going to be. Um, they're very likely to
Listen, everybody's
yeah.
going to snitch. If you're the first person in the room, you're going to work a deal. If you're the last person in the room, you fucked. Mike Vick was fucked.
Mm.
As simple as that. He was the last person in the room. He said, "No, I'm good," and he did his time. Seriously, he did. He did 18 out of 22 months. He got out because of NFL connects and his talent. He got his job back. I do it in Vicology. How many people go to jail for something and get their job back? Shit don't happen. Doctors don't. Lawyers don't. I'm dead serious now.
Mhm.
You saying? But he got his job back because he what? He's an athlete and get that money. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's weird because dogfighting. I mean, if you ever see it, it's horrible. The way these dogs perform because of love. And I say this in level threes. I say to my dogfighting class and like that. Out of love, they didn't get anything special. Now outside the keep. A keep. Oh, let me define a keep. A keep is a training regiment, which is cross training for dogs. A keep was going to be on anywhere for a treadmill, a slap mill, e-mill, water tank, all types of good diet, good foods, like a good creatine, good like that, and make sure the dog performs that as weight. The dog will always come back. And for all of y'all who don't understand this nonsense, BCS for a fighting dog or a working dog is a 3. And I would challenge anybody on any day who say anything different.
You're
A
saying, wait,
working dog
a
is a
three out
3.
of a 3 out of 9.
A 3 out of 9. That's going to be a preener because you have a Tufts. I don't use Tufts, and no disrespect to Tufts. I use a preener body scale. And what's the go to the body scale get? And if you have 1 to 3 underweight, you have a 4 to 5 is ideal. You have a 6 to 9, which is overweight. Now, a 4 to 5, depending on the species it is. When I say species, breed, three, a 3 is going to be underweight. But these dogs are machines. They will show ribs and we go in there and do what they have to do. Bars.
Yeah, and just getting it like we can. So they talk about in this report from the FBI all the things that you might see at the keep and some of the things that weren't mentioned. So it just depends on where you're located. So they had a slat mill or an e mill that a
Mm-hmm.
dog will run on for cardio. They
Mm-hmm.
may have things like a spring pole where a pitty will hang on that spring pole
Right.
and just jump up and down, really
Right.
working out those jaw muscles, neck muscles, etc. The Jenny, the spinny thing where it'll just chase
It's a
around.
cat mill. It's a
Cat
horse
mill.
mill broken down to a what you call it. So a Jenny. The problem you have with now with the totality, aka my mentor, Dr. Merck, it's the totality of the evidence.
Mm,
It's not some. It's the totality of the evidence. So you don't need A, B. You need A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If it's
hmm
there.
hmm
So catch them in the act, you don't need to catch them in the act if you can prove that they fought or they're training and the devices that they use. But this is a problem with today's cases. Many pieces of equipment are used for other exercises,
hmm
where before it was what? What it was outlawed. It was just, it's a contraband. It was contraband. So back in my day, when I came through 2007 to 2010, when we eliminate damn near eliminated dogfighting in DeKalb County in Georgia, and that facts destroyed everybody. You cannot have a slap mill. You cannot have a carpet mill. You cannot have an e mill. You cannot have any of these things because it was consistent with dogfighting.
Mm.
But because you have all these sports now where they use these things to exercise these dogs, it's harder. It's
Mm-hmm.
harder. Now the FBI, they might, I'm not gonna lie to you. They have the gravitas and they have the bully pulpit to say A, B, and C. Okay. And
hmm
which is good. My thing is that if you have a break stick, I think you're fighting. I don't know, but I think you're fighting. A break stick is used to separate the dogs correctly. Okay. Do I see a flirt pole? Do I see a spring pole? Okay. Do I see a water tank? Okay. If I see a keep is going to be a regiment, but a
Yeah,
keep is
schedule.
go ahead,
Like,
sorry.
yeah, schedule.
A
Yeah.
keep is going to be a booklet, or it could be in a form, or it'd be a calendar of the days that animal is working. Okay. I had one of these in 2015. I had the last case I worked for as a dogfighting case. It was, I'm not gonna lie, it was gift wrap. I told Tim Ricky, I told everybody at Tim Ricky at HPCA, Kyle, I didn't see Kyle, so like that. But I seen all these guys, everybody around the network. And he said, how did you get 18 dogs, get all the equipment within 3 hours and 45 minutes? A, this person cooperated. Dumb, but he cooperated.
Mm.
Okay. Went on the property, sort of stuff like that. Went over there, waited for him. He came back home and I told him what's going on, stuff like that. He gave us what? Consent. Daniel, Ashley, if somebody gives you consent, shut the fuck up. Listen and get all that information. Because, and I'm just said, I can go here, I can go over here, and everything is what now? In plain view. The biggest thing here is to have what? A camera. Right? And then you get him or her to sign a what? Consent form.
Yeah.
So now you got them what? Locked the fuck up. Right? So now I'm over here going like this. I mean, it's like Christmas. Right? Ray went over there, scared they got a truck. Called Murray. Murray called me. I was home. I was 2 clicks from the house, kilometers. Went there, saw probable cause, called it in, said, hey, I got this. I shot one picture and got a warrant off that probable cause. And then he came home and gave us consent to walk the yard. And all this is on the camera, all of this. I rang out 6 units, 6 units to come. I had a property room to bring everything we're going to move. Because this was the case. I was like, hey, we have one protection dog, was a Press Canario, swole, looked like it did push-ups for a living, 2 a days, Cool J, diamond push-ups. It was a monster. It had a radius at least about 20 feet where you couldn't get by it.
Wow.
Okay. He was a monster. He was a straight punk when you talk to him. But the rest of the dogs in the back. I took video of the whole thing. They had 3 gamecocks on there, right? Dubbed and waddled out. Right. I'm like this. Okay. They had a shed in the back where we got a trophy for best show 2012. Okay. We had all the food outside. We had we went through it. We ran the V things on your car, the V, whatever that thing's registration. We ran them like this because when I get out, we just go through the process and we do everything in a format. We don't go off live like, what should we do? What should we do? We have a plan. And if you give us consent versus a warrant, I was like this, oh my God, you serious?
You're like, thank you. That's very nice of you.
Bro, he started naming folks. Do you know this person? Do you know this person? I said, yeah. But what messed him up when I said, hey, we just had a complaint. Are y'all bumping and rolling? He said, nah, ain't nobody bumping and rolling. Ain't nobody fighting. Once he said that, once he acknowledged what I said, I was like this, Ashley, I was like this, it's over. Son, it's over. And that person went to jail, after I left, went to jail and everything. But we confiscated 18 animals, 5 treadmills,
wow,
1 spring pole, a trophy, all the stuff like that, and all the dogs. And we had, while we was there, because when you set up, you have somebody who's taking pictures, you have somebody who's a scribe. We have all, because we use Pet Point. I don't know what your guys use out there, Pet Point Chameleon. We had all the Pet Point numbers for the dogs, like that. We said boom, 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 boom. And I did a diagram. They use all this in court. I was already retired. They use all this in court. I was like this. It was gift wrapped. Okay, it was gift wrapped. And it's really that you get a case that's gift wrapped like this. It was, bro, it was the easiest case I ever worked in my life, for the most part. I digress.
I mean, I've seen some photos, I think, from it. Is that the one where you had the in the backyard, it had the press board kennels like this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. I Ashley, before I want to go to the conclusion of the FBI report, but before I do that, is there anything that jumped out at you from this report that, I mean, there's a lot in there. We could spend probably 2 or 3 shows breaking down this report. just curious if there's something that jumped out that you wanted to make sure we covered before I get into the conclusion of the report.
I mean, with me having unfamiliar with these types of cases, because
Yeah,
all the cases that I've worked so far have been, the kind of hoarding, cruelty, that type of thing. So nothing to this magnitude at all.
yeah,
Um, it's interesting to get from this affidavit that they think they're being smart, but they're really not. And it's, just simple things like using your own phone number that you've had for years on end. Like what? Why? Why are you doing that? Especially as somebody who works in the government, like how dumb can you be? You know what I mean?
mm,
Um, but I mean, just that overall, and just the simplicity of them almost just being out in the open, I feel like with this case, it's just like they weren't really trying to hide anything. And like Kevin said, people who have that status think they can't get caught, and that's where they get lazy, and then here you go. So I found that quite interesting too, that, just the laziness of all of it. And then again, a lot of the background of what they found and, just God, I mean, just how dumb can you be? And then the pictures for where all of this is happening. I mean, it's your next door neighbor.
it's your next door neighbor. And what jumped out at me is the dogs were kept in a. I like how the agent described it, in a windowless room in the basement.
Mhm.
I thought that was really interesting, but a
He
lot of
painted the
times
picture.
it's
He
right
painted
there.
the picture. It's really good for the jury. He painted the picture.
Oh yeah, yeah, he did a good job on that. And I think too, like they've been operating, I think they noticed since 2002.
Two. Hmm.
So then you wonder like was when did Vic get busted?
2007, 2008.
So
And they said in the window in 2008, one of the places like that, they found some other bodies near there in your report that you were showing.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the thing is like this, man. This is why I do in service for police, not ACOs. Okay, we have trained for ACO, but in service because usually PD, sheriff department, law enforcement, LEOs, they're first one in the scene. So sometimes you have to show them what to look for in case. I had a case off of McAfee and Gresham, not that far from some dog fighters. I mean, up the block, and they saw these dogs. I mean, in a pile, looking like Jenga, right? But they was there for something else, a domestic. They saw the dog and didn't think about this pile of dogs stacked the fuck up. And I was like, and then they went over here because there wasn't over here for the dog over here, and they didn't say nothing to us. Now
Wow.
you have a whole bunch of dead dogs stacked up. And you talking about over here, like so some officers, no disrespect from our law enforcement, because y'all know I bleed blue. They're
Mm,
tunnel vision looking
Hmm.
like this. And
Hmm.
sometimes it's 10, 7, 10, 8. Get on the case, get off the case. Get on the case, get off the case. Because they're busy. They are so busy doing everything else.
Hmm.
So sometimes it doesn't peak on their peripheral, like this might be dogfighting, this might be elder abuse, this might be child abuse, this might be juvenile. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes they just focus on this. No disrespect to my law enforcement, but sometimes they don't see it. And then, when I said, you didn't see that? He's like, we ain't thinking nothing about it. That's why roll calls are good.
hmm.
When you go to the police academies are good. When you have in service during the rest of the year with your police department, stuff like that, you need to train them up to see the regulars that we see so they can like this, hey, that might be a problem. Feel me?
Absolutely. 100%. And that's why it's so important that we do this show too, to talk about it. Not sure if any of our law enforcement friends are listening. We know some of our animal control friends are. And that's why, we grab this report, share it with you, because so that way you can build out on your own case if you're ever dealing with it. And I want to read his conclusion. So, based on the foregoing facts and my training and experience, I respectfully submit that there is probable cause to believe that Fredrick Douglas Moorefield Jr. and Mario Damon Flythe violated the Title VII, and I'm not going to read all those codes because we read them
Mm.
earlier. Based on the foregoing information, I have probable cause to believe that the stained walls, furniture, and wood panels observed at the dividing creek premises constitute evidence of targeted offenses, and those items are currently located at the dividing creek premises. I therefore respectfully request that the search warrant be issued authorizing a search of the dividing creek premises for the purposes of taking samples from those items in order to test those samples for the presence of canine DNA as described in attachment B.
So that sounds like he was it was an affidavit applying for the
Search. Yeah.
search
All
warrant.
right.
Yeah.
And the one thing I like when I seen the pictures of it like that, they had the carpet, the mitochondria and
Outrolled.
stuff like
Yep.
that.
I'm
You know
going
what
to
I'm saying?
throw
The
those. I'll
mitochondria
throw
in the
those
walls like that.
pictures in.
It's wonderful DNA you can get.
Yeah.
And the thing is, you have to paint the picture to the jury. Okay. Now, the prosecutors like that, you can school them all day, but you have to paint the picture to the grand jury, to get this to go to a jury.
Mm-hmm.
You have to paint the picture that these dogs was in what? A windowless, whatever, and like that. And they was forced to train. And then they went over here and they fought in this pit. And it was looked like this. You have to paint that picture because a lot of people do not know what, okay, outside of Mike Vick, ain't nobody know about dogfighting.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Before that happened,
When
for
Mike
sure.
Vick put it on it, there was like this dogfight. And then you have, I want to say this, I want to digress. You had folks. I used to do Vicology when Mike Vick then came around. Again, I'm a county down from where Mike Vick lived. So his house was in Duluth, Georgia, was Gwinnett. He had a mini mansion. His acreage was in Virginia, okay, where they have all stuff like that, right? But he was an employee for the Atlanta Falcons at the time, and he's an employee. So he lived over here. He had a mini mansion, stuff like that. But he lived in over there in Surrey, Virginia, stuff like that. So I'm doing, I don't know, whatever for the kids and stuff like that. And I did Vicology, right? I had a FAMU grad, no disrespect to FAMU. Teacher said, "Why are you dogging out Mike Vick? He ain't doing nothing. Then what about them dogs?" I said, "Time out, time out." He did ABC, and we already know what ABC means. Always be closing. I showed where he was wrong, why he was wrong, and I don't want these kids I'm talking to, did I say it again? These kids I'm talking to, not to repeat it. Ashley, you feel me? And then
Mm-hmm.
she was like, "Well, I don't understand. Why are you picking on him?" And one of the students said, "Well, Miss Crabtree, I'm gonna say Crabtree, he was wrong. Why he fighting dogs?" And
Mm-hmm.
she shut up. It's amazing that it became racial,
Oh, I
not good or
see.
bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Feel me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
And most people
It's
don't
tough.
know. Most people, when I teach about dogfighting, kind of similar to what you were talking about, Kevin, is most people don't know like the real professionals, the one that what we say like secure the bloodline are them white
Mm.
boys in Alabama or Mississippi, Oklahoma. It's
Bro, it goes back, bro. It goes back.
yeah.
You talking about Crenshaw, Ben Crenshaw, you know, Floyd, you talking about Boudreaux's, you talking about bloodlines and names that go back.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, a lot of these guys are dead, but
Mm-hmm.
their bloodline and names keep going on. That's why the dogs are so valuable.
Mm-hmm.
If you get anything from the Chinaman line, aka Honey Bunch line, you have a $10,000 dog.
Wow.
I mean, it's no, at minimum. And then like Honey Bunch was like almost she's allegedly working on a double grand champ. Remember, champions what? 3 wins. A grand champ is what?
Undefeated 1 win.
5 wins.
Yeah, undefeated too.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Imagine going in the ring and you go in there with 5 wins. This is dog supposed to be
Mm.
studded out for the rest of his life. And you're gonna put it back in the ring to get a double grand champ, allegedly.
Mm.
It's ridiculous, man.
I'm
That's why
gonna
I would say these people are insidious, and these people who do this should be behind bars. And I get criticized because I'm like 1-800 lock that ass up.
mm.
Everybody said, "Why do you want lock everybody like that?" If you're doing these horrible things to these dogs, what might you do to people?
I mean,
Feel me?
and what we didn't talk about in the beginning is dogfighting is associated with other crimes too, and that's what
Big
you're
time.
bringing up. And think
Big
about it
time.
this way: we kind of glossed over it, and I want to make sure we come back to it. So there was an apparatus that you could plug into the wall, and on the other end of the apparatus had jumper cables on it. So they're
Mm-hmm.
they're using a 120-volt electrocution to kill a dog. It just sounds so horrible. I wouldn't even just trying to think of it to imagine what that dog, like the seizing and all that aspects that go into it. Um, just because you don't want that dog anymore because it embarrassed you in a fight or whatever it may be. And this dog fighting, cockfighting, all that stuff. It's horrible, absolutely
The thing
horrible.
is, the thing with dogfighting, it's going to be more personal. Is people who think dogs are what more domesticated and closer to family,
Yeah.
whereas they say roosters is agriculture farm animal.
Well, most people
Mm-hmm.
in this country eat chickens and they don't eat dogs in this country.
They
You
don't
see
eat
what I'm
roosters,
saying?
bro. That's disgusting shit. I'm just saying.
This is a good episode. I want to appreciate you taking the time to come on here and, just the awareness that we can raise, showing people that these dogs suffer at the hands of anyone. It could be a neighbor that's a doctor. There's a case out of Florida where a veterinarian was
Mhm.
convicted of sexually abusing dogs. We can get into
Mhm.
that at some other time, but you just never know where these predators or whatever you want to
I
call
tell
them.
you, I'll tell you this, bro. I'm gonna let you go on this. When we did that bird case with 500 something birds, and the owner of the birds who's convicted, who went to jail, don't know how long, 500 birds, 500 something birds, exotic birds, exotic. He was a cardiologist. He's saving lives and saving human beings. So what do you do? And then we talking, do you take this person out of doing what he does to put him in jail for being cruel or naive about these birds he has that he pays each bird in it, the big ones, $5,000, $10,000 birds. He has pallets of bird food that's going whatever. He has a Porsche bro, we worked this for like 16 hours in one day.
Mm.
What do you do with that type of person? Do you put him away or do you commute a sentence and like this? You saving people. That's another conversation we need to have. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with these people?
Hmm. It's a good
Because I'm
point.
not gonna lie to you. This
Hmm.
person who did this to these dogs and everything, hey, 1-800, fuck them. But when you have somebody who, don't get me wrong, some of these birds, I mean, we got 500 birds. 300 was alive, 200 is dead. It was mummified and stuff like that. That was a serious case. We was out there 16 hours. 16 hours, we had to have two, two engine trucks to ventilate the green air,
Mm.
bro. And you have birds talking to you the whole time. Ah, what's up? Talking to you, and you're looking around like, what the hell? Who's talking to me? It's the damn bird. Dan, Ashley, it was so long. It was so long, and we had it. How do you count birds in the cage? You're like 1, 2, 3. Damn, he moved. 1, 2, 3, 4. He moved. It is very difficult, and to do this and to have somebody who like, should he go to jail? And remember, he had 11 dogs in the best shape, pristine shape. He had healthy King Charles Spaniels.
Yeah.
This is a dog that has all types of health reasons. Pristine. They look like show dogs, but the rest of the house, horrible. I'm sorry, I'm taking up too much time. My bad. My bad.
No, it's good. I mean,
No, all the knowledge, all
yeah,
the knowledge.
it's good to hear that because it's when you work any of these cases, large scale fighting cases, there's going to be a lot of animals. That inventory is live, and I hate to use that word inventory, but that's the reality of it. You have to make sure you're getting all that stuff detailed out because you're leaving a copy at the property.
Question for you. Question for
Yeah.
y'all. How don't y'all get attached to the cases of the animals that you work? I can't. I'm something different. But how don't y'all get attached to the dogs and the cases that you work? How don't you have this attachment to them and it bothers you? Now I'm different. It doesn't. Nothing bothers me. But how do you work through that, Dan?
I mean, you and I talk a lot, and to say nothing bothers you is what the youngsters would say is cap.
I'm a sociopath. Keep going. I'm a sociopath. Okay. Okay.
No,
Next question. I'm a
let me
Sith
answer
Lord.
that. No, let me answer that. I think at the
Right.
end of the day, the ones that I think the people that are successful in this industry, truthfully, that I look at now, going on 15 years, is you have to have empathy in certain
Hmm.
situations and be able to be compassionate, but at the same time, you have to be able to almost compartmentalize it in
Mm,
aspects of
mm,
saying like this,
mm,
if I can do this interview investigation
mm,
without bias and just focus on the facts, then I don't get attached to it personally.
mm. Ashley.
Yeah. Um, it's hard. I have to say it's hard. One of the first cases that I worked when I took over our agency, was these two dogs that were running loose that broke into houses, killing other dogs.
Hmm.
Um, and it was really hard for me to detach from the culprit dog because I knew she was the one who instigated everything.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, I think as I go along with all of this, you have to detach yourself in a certain you have to go in knowing you're there for a purpose in order to get the case from start to finish
Hmm.
without any bias.
Hmm.
Because
Right.
if you don't, that one little hiccup of where your heart explodes could screw up the entire case at the end of the day because you decided to do whatever.
Right.
But I will say it's difficult for me still at this point in time, just because I don't have a lot of the field experience. My experience a lot more is in house, so I get to see the animals when they get brought in.
Mhm.
But now that I'm in the field, so to speak, it's been difficult to kind of separate myself from that.
What you
Like
said, and I think is really important, and not to say you can't have emotions in this. I've cried, whether not on scene ever, but on my way home or recalling a case. I'm not embarrassed to say that. But at the end of the day, like I can't let those emotions overtake me in the moment of doing those investigations because otherwise I'm going to miss something or I'm going to create an environment where I'm biased because I'm only looking at it from the aspects of how could you be so cruel to that animal? It's important to look at all the evidence and try to make practical decisions. That's how I really try to focus. I
The
don't.
reason why I brought that up was, it's I can teach all the I can teach all classes I have in my inventory, in my catalog, but I can't teach one. I can't teach compassion fatigue. And I get dogged out about this all the time. They're like this, you don't have compassion? No, it's not that I don't have compassion. I just don't understand how to attach it to what I'm doing because I'm trying to be objective when I'm doing. So I have to actually, seriously, I have to fly Dustin in or have Dustin teach compassion fatigue because, and and I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. Me and my son, yeah, he does a medical examiner. He's a death investigator. He goes there and he sees the dead body. He has to notify and everything like that. Me and my son, I'm seeing him this afternoon because I have to buy dinner. But we see things, bro. It's grandpa duty, bro. It's grandpa duty. But I'm like this. I see the case and I handle the case. I don't see, I'm emotionless. Now, only time I get emotional, and we talked about this on one of my podcasts like that, when I had a 9-year-old mauled by a Great Dane named Nitro. That was a little different because my son was around the same age, and I saw my son there. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I was like that. I said, "Oh damn!" And I went after I finished the case and everything. I went to go hug my son. I was like, "Yo, I miss you and everything." He's like, "The fuck wrong with you? You don't like me? Get the fuck off me!" You know what I'm saying? Because my son's not used to having that love like that. We laugh about that stuff now, but it's the thing is, if you can separate, and I like how you said it, you have to separate yourself from what it is and what you need to do.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Two different
Because
things.
a lot of us get caught up and caught up. You know what I'm saying? And then you notice, bro, you get caught up, you miss all types of evidence that you're supposed to pick up.
Mm-hmm. That's it. 100%. Well, we appreciate you coming on. Check out Don't F Up the Crime Scene. That's Kevin Hearst's podcast. Check it out anywhere you get your podcasts. Please check out our socials. Keep it humane everywhere. And like, share, rate the podcast. KeepItHumane.com. Check out our sponsor. That's livetrap.com. Use discount code, all caps, no caps, all caps. Keep it humane for 10% off your order at livetrap.com. And we like to say thanks for listening.
Help people.
Help animals.
Keep it in.
Deuces, deuces.